We come to see and hear a legendary superstar. Presenting the one, the only, undisputed, undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, LaQuisha Ewing.
Good morning. Good morning. I guess it's afternoon now. Good afternoon to everybody. Glad to see y'all. Listen, it's something about that intro that just does something to me. I know some people say, man, that's over the top. You got to be over the top, right? You got to be over the top. In this virtual space, you got to do whatever it takes to make you pop, right? You got to do whatever it takes to make you happy. And so today, I am LaQuisha Ewing. I'm going to talk to you very briefly about staying in the fight. I want to tell you a little bit about my story. Want to give you some practical strategies, but I want to hear from you. I see a few of y'all here today. I want to hear from you. So we definitely going to leave time for y'all to be able to ask questions. Definitely engage in the chat. Listen, this virtual world's kind of freaking me out a little bit because I'm an engaging speaker and engaging trainer. So I like to see faces and hear voices. So as much as possible, I want y'all to be in the chat or pop in and talk to me as I'm going through this. So what does it mean to stay in the fight? Why did I call this stay in the fight? I call it stay in the fight because a lot of people don't really understand what it takes to make it, right? Jeremy gave some amazing tips in his keynote this morning. And so what happens is as we go through life, we tend to think that the path is going to be smooth, right? That the path is going to be straight, that, that we're not going to have too many bumps, right? That we're not going to have failures. I tell people I've had failures or fallings, right, all along my life, but I haven't had a failure in terms of being who I am yet. Right. That means every day that I get up, I get another opportunity. And so I want us to just kind of zone in, y'all, on this particular paragraph. Right. It says life is not what you've been taught, is what you believe. Some of us come from backgrounds where people have told us all our life, you're going to be like your mama. You're going to be like your no good daddy. You're not going to be able to make it. Maybe you're not a great writer. Maybe you don't do math well. People try to tell you all these things, right, from the outside. That's why you got to come in with this intrinsic energy that I'm going to win at all costs, right? I'm going to win at all costs. I need you to understand something. This is the first nugget I'm going to give you all today. You were wired to win. You are wired to succeed. People have been trying to program you for failure. Listen, that's a blessing right there for me, right? But you were wired. Everything about your DNA, everything about who you are wired to win. But programming, external things have been trying to, program you for failure, right? So life is not what you've been taught, it's what you believe. It's not what you've experienced, it's the choices you've made as a result. Right? It's not about what happened to you. It's about how you remember it. Have anybody ever, somebody talk to me in the chat. Has anybody ever been in a place where you and somebody else went to the exact same event? And when you tell them your recount of what happened and they tell you their recount of what happened, it's never the same thing. Somebody tell me, have you ever had that happen? Like y'all were literally in the same place, but you saw it one way, they saw it another way. I see this a lot at church, right? People say, man, how was church? Oh, it was amazing. Oh, it was all right. And I'm like, man, y'all was sitting in the same place. That's because people have decided, right? They made a decision on how they wanted to remember the thing, right? They wanted to figure out how they were going to remember it. And so some people take it and they see the glass half full. Other people see the glass half empty. But it's not about what happened to you. It's what you remember about what happened to you, right? So you have to understand that you have a path that's been cleared out for you, right? But you get to accept what's along that path. Right. I have people in my life that have given me great things, right? Great. My parents, my mom can tell you, my mom would give me a gift. And nowadays I'm at the place where I'll be like, you know what, mama, thank you. But I'm not going to even use that. I'm not going to use it. So you know what? You can either go give your money back or let us be a blessing to somebody else. Because I understand now what I need in my life and I can make that decision early on. And so I don't have to accept everything that's on my path. But here it is. When we accept personal responsibility, y'all, for our lives, then everything becomes possible. Because just like I can say no, I also get to say yes. I also get to say yes. And so part of saying yes and staying in the fight, y'all, is owning your story, loving who you are in this process. That's the bravest thing that we can do. The bravest thing we can do. I remember, so growing up, y'all, my parents were in high school. They got married right after high school, stayed married for about 12 years. My father was a narcotics agent. I'm about to date myself here. He used to play McGruff the crime dog in my school during Just Say No week, right? Just Stay Off Drugs week. And he would come in and he would give all these speeches. But my daddy was like Denzel in Training Day. Y'all, he was like Denzel in Training Day. He would literally take drugs off of his bust. He would take drugs off of his bus and sell on the side. So most of my life, my father was in federal prison. He was in federal prison. And so my mom worked 2 and 3 jobs my whole entire life. My stepfather didn't come into my life until much later. And so I had to figure out, what is it from this sordid past that I'm going to have to push through to be able to make it? And my mama used to tell me something. She said, you can have caviar dreams and tuna fish money. Caviar dreams and tuna fish money, y'all. And so what she said to me was, can y'all hear me? Can y'all not hear me? Devin, do we have a problem? Oh, okay. All right, thank you, Hezekiah. Oh, okay, thank you, Hezekiah. So what my mom would say to me is that you can have caviar dreams and tuna fish money, right? And so what that was saying to me was, if you can see it, right? It didn't matter where we came from. It didn't matter what you thought you had. You can actually attain that highest level, right? You can attain that highest level. And so I had to figure out how to own my story. I'm gonna show y'all. I'm showing y'all my vulnerabilities. This part of owning your story. That's me as a little girl. Now here's the deal, y'all. I was probably about 10, 11. And in the writing, that little squiggly writing on the bottom, it says Model of the Year, Rich Lady. Now my maiden name is Tibbs, right? So LaQuisha Tibbs. But here's the deal. I didn't know how I was gonna get there. I just knew at that age, I wanted to attain that. Now you probably couldn't catch me in a fur nowadays, right? But there was a vision that I had bigger than where I was, right? And so I knew that it was going to take me pressing through my circumstance to get to where I wanted to be. Now I show y'all this picture because on the left, there's a picture. This is a kindergarten picture that my mother kept all these years. It was my first quote unquote external failure in kindergarten. Right. And I analyzed that thing because I was looking at how well I wrote my name, and I look at the sad face, and the teacher gave me a sad face. Right. And I was like, man, I don't understand. You know, as a kid, I'm sure I cried. But as an adult, I'm really dissecting this thing, trying to figure out, why did I get a sad face? Right. Because my mom said she remembers. She said, you got that sad face because you didn't finish coloring the zebra. I said, but listen, I want you to look at something, y'all. I want y'all to look at this detail. I colored the hooves. That was a design. I put a yellow stripe. That was intentional. Listen, y'all, the outside world is going to assess what it is that you are, where you came from, and all those things. But if you got it within you already to see what it is you intended, I don't care. I use this sad face now in presentations all around the world. I present all across the country, internationally. And I'm like, here, this is what somebody thought was one of my greatest failures. And I'm going to maximize it. I'm going to use it as an example because I understand what it means to stay in the fight. I understand that I had a vision and a purpose for my life before somebody tried to program me with their expectations. Listen, y'all, you got to figure it out for yourself. You got to understand what it means to face adversity. Right? And you got to be unapologetic about it. You got to have the courage to mess up and to be imperfect, but you also got to have the courage to set boundaries. So yes, that teacher had the authority to give me a sad face, but that teacher does not have the authority to call me a failure. I had to set boundaries. And allow myself to be vulnerable enough to be unapologetic about who I am, right? You got to display compassion, right? And this is the thing about compassion, y'all. Compassion only comes from you knowing that you have both strength and struggle inside of you. You got strength and struggle. You are a mix, a microcosm of these two things. You are strong and you are weak at the same time. I tell people like that, we tend to think that weakness is a bad thing. There are times when you need to be weak, right? There are times when you need to be weak. There are times when, you know what, there are times I need to be water so I can be fluid and flow through life. And there are times that I need to be ice and I need to be solid, unshakable, unmovable. Those things have to happen, and I'm a composition of the both. And so you got to water the idea, right, that you are, have been, and will always be enough. That makes you unapologetic. That's what makes you unapologetic. You are unapologetic when you understand that, you know what, I'm going to tell you my good and my bad. Some people won't be vulnerable enough with themselves, and therefore they can't be real with other people. So they give up the first time that they get struggle, because really you in denial. My papa used to tell me, denial is not a river in Egypt. Some folks are in denial about who they are. And so they put on this facade. And so that's why they can't be unapologetic in who they are, because they haven't really accepted the good and the bad. I can show you my failure. I can show you my aspiration in the same shot, because I'm a composition of both those things. Right. And I don't need, this is not high school, y'all. You know, y'all are in school or, you know, in college, and you have to have prerequisites in order to take. So if you're going to take algebra 1, you have to, algebra 2, you have to have taken algebra 1 and all that. You got to have prerequisites. Worthiness doesn't have prerequisites. You are worthy of success. You are worthy of all the positive and great accolades that are awaiting you. You deserve the best life right now. You don't have to wait until you're 20 or until you're 18, until you're 35 or 50. Listen, y'all, I retired. A little girl whose daddy was a drug dealer, whose mama worked as a school teacher, who was on free lunch. I retired when I was 13 years old. I'm sorry, Lord Jesus. I wish 13. I retired when I was 33 years old. 33 years old. Started a technology company. It blew up. It did amazing. The little girl with the drug dealing daddy, right? All of these things. But I was able to rise above that, because I understood that I didn't need anybody's permission to be worthy of the success that was already mine. So you got to understand something, y'all. Validation is for parking. You don't need other people's opinion. You don't need them to stamp you and say you're worthy of this now, or you're worthy to achieve this now. You got to know it coming into the game. I'm worthy right now, and I didn't need any prerequisites. Listen, I'm going to give you all these quick steps before we get into some Q&A, because I want you to figure out, because people tell you stay in the fight, but they never really tell you how, right? So I'm going to give you a couple of steps of how to stay in the fight, how to persevere and position yourself to be ready to make it through. The first one is I am statements. You need to embrace I am statements. Everything about who you are needs to be rooted in I am statements. Let me tell you something. I am statements are the most powerful things that you have. Whatever you say I am, that is exactly what you are. I know this ain't church, but you know what? I can't help it, because I'm a preacher too. That's what I do. I believe in the gospel. And so what I do is that, you know, in the word, we hear the Creator saying that, you know what? I am. He said, I am that I am, which tells me that I am is a very powerful phrase. And so when you say, I am broke, I am not smart, I am not, you are becoming that. It's called self-fulfilling prophecy. You say it so much that you end up being it, not because you were it, but because you are creating it in you. So when I say I am smart, I am strong, I am successful, I am faith-driven, like I become those things even in the moment when I'm weak. Remember, because I'm both things, strength and struggle. So even when I'm struggling, when I say I am strong, I see myself in a better state, in a future state. And this is the thing. There's a difference between changing and becoming. Changing is surface. It's surface level, right? I can change my outfit. That didn't change who I was. I just changed my outfit. But if I say that LaQuisha Ewing became a submarine, I turned it to something totally different. So I need you to understand your I am statements will transform you into what you're going to become. The next thing I want you to understand is that in order to make it through this fight, you're going to have to learn how to guard your energy. Some of y'all are wasting time. You're wasting time on people and things that do not matter. People and things that don't matter at all. And so what happens is they become parasites, and they're sucking the energy out of your life. They're sucking the energy out of your focus, out of your dreams. You got to guard that energy. You got to realize that, you know what, today, partner, I can't roll with you. Hey, you my girl, squad, all that. But today, I can't do that today, because right now I ain't got but a little bit of energy, and I got to put that toward my focus. The other thing you have to do is live in a constant state of celebration. The reason I have that intro is because I'm excited about life. Let me tell y'all something. There was a period in my life where I took about 6 years and I did not celebrate my birthday. Now, that's not to say that I wasn't grateful to the Creator for having the ability to live. I was. Every year I showed gratitude for having seen another year, but I wasn't going to celebrate. I want y'all to think about this. How many of y'all get up in the morning and throw yourself a party for brushing your teeth? You get balloons and rattlers and shakers for tying your shoe. You're not really, you do it. You're glad that you can do it because there are other people who can't do it, but you're not throwing yourself a party. So this is what I said. I will not celebrate my life until my life is worth celebrating. That means I have to be intentional about what I'm doing and create stuff to where I'm in a constant state of celebration. That means I'm constantly doing things that are celebratory, that, you know what, I made it through this. Let's celebrate this. It's a mile marker. You got to live in a constant state of celebration. And when you do that, it gives you the confidence to own it. I own my fears, my failures, my flaws, my successes, my accomplishments, everything. You own it all. Because you realize that, you know what, it's what I needed to make where I am right now. I want y'all to think about that. If you were baking a cake, right? Basic cake, you got eggs, flour, sugar, milk maybe, right? And there's going to be some other ingredients that made a lemon cake different than a red velvet and all of that. But when you're making this cake, when you first start off, you might put your flour in the bowl, right? And so here's the deal. If you just ate a spoonful of flour, it's going to be disgusting. It's disgusting. That means you just stopped right there. You stopped in your struggle. You didn't get to the other parts that is going to actually make this life better for you. So wherever you are right now, the reason you're not owning it is because, you know what? I'm stuck in my flour. I'm stuck in the bitter part of my life. But if you go on down, you're going to get something that's going to soften it up. You're going to get a little butter. You're going to get a little eggs, right? And it's going to soften it up. It ain't going to be as stiff. Still don't taste good, but it's getting a little better. By the time you make it to that fourth step, you putting in sugar. Now, here's the thing about the sugar. The sugar's going to make it taste better, but it's still not the best. If somebody handed you a bowl of that, you really ain't going to want to consume it. You're really not going to want to consume it. But when you get it and you put it together, y'all, and here's the blessing of this cake. When you put it in the oven, right, it got to go under some heat. Your life has to go under some heat. That nasty, bitter part of your life, the part where my daddy sold drugs and was in federal prison and my parents were divorced and all of that was flour. But then somebody introduced education as an opportunity for me. And so education became that egg and that butter. And it made it a little softer. It still didn't feel good. It still didn't taste good, but it was getting better. Then by the time I make it to my 20s, my late 20s, my 30s, I'm starting businesses. And so now this thing kind of sweet. But let me tell you something. Years later, way into my marriage, like my husband and I met it, things got tight again. And so here's God making it hot so that thing can all come together. And now I can own it. But let me tell you something. In the midst of doing that, owning it, I had to be willing to look foolish. Some of y'all are afraid of succeeding because your success is contingent upon you stepping away from the group and not looking like the masses. You got to be willing to look foolish. I remember when I quit my professional job that I went to get all of these degrees to attain, and I quit it, and everybody thought I had lost my mind. LaQuisha's having a mental breakdown in her 30s. I'm like, nah, man, God is telling me to do something different. And so I had to be willing to look foolish to other people in order to grab a hold to what was mine. Listen, you gotta see love as the control of your plan. right? I love who I am as a person. I love other people. I love my creator. I love humanity. And so that's what drives me, right? I'm willing to look foolish for the sake of love. And I'm willing to work through my fears, right? I'm willing to work through my fears because what I know is the more that I work through my fears, the more that I'm rooted in that love. I know I'm a little crazy to the world because the world full of hate. It's full of hate, y'all. And so I had to stop for a minute, y'all, and look and say, you know what? What is it that I'm trying to do? Because I feel like I'm doing it by myself. Nothing that you do should be a solo act. We are built to be in community with each other, right? We're built to be in community with each other. And so I had to learn to work through my fears by assessing. This is how I got through my fears. I looked around to see what resources I have available. See, sometimes people want you to feel like you out here all by yourself. And as long as you feel like you only have the tools that are in your toolkit, you're like, I ain't got nothing but a couple of nails and a few hammers. I can't really build this house. Well, I look over though. My brother got some plywood. You know, my sister might have some drywall. We can get together and build some stuff. What are the resources that are available to you? You got to be willing to see things differently because somebody may not have nothing but a sheet, right? And some paper clips. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm really dating myself this time, guys. There was a show back in the 70s, 80s called The A-Team. Had Mr. T in it, right? Mr. T and the A-Team, they would get a job where they were trying to, you know, like overthrow the bad guys. And they would have the most ridiculous things. They would have like a bobby pin, a piece of bubble gum, and a bucket. And they would build a bomb. It was crazy. It was the craziest thing, right? They would always have what they needed out of crazy stuff. Here's the thing, y'all. You have to be willing to see stuff differently. I had to be willing that, you know what, even though everybody told me this is the path, these are the tools, I did that. But that wasn't really what I needed for my journey. I had to see things differently. I had to see outside of the box, right? And the other thing I want y'all to understand is this. Be willing to see everything as being alive. There is no such thing as a dead moment in my life. Everything has life, right? It may feel dormant. It may feel, you know, like it's heavy, but it's alive. It's an opportunity. So when I say alive, alive means an opportunity. Everything is an opportunity. Like I showed y'all that coloring sheet, right? I found that because my mother at the time, they thought my mother had cancer. So I had to move. Well, I had to leave from Chattanooga and go stay with my parents for a few months to take care of my mother. And so in doing so, she had it in her throat, so she couldn't talk. So I couldn't really leave the house because she couldn't talk. She had the little bell that she rung when she needed me. So what that meant was I was stuck in my childhood home for about a month and a half, pretty much every day. So I went in the attic and I started cleaning up. And that's when I found that coloring sheet, right? And I'm like, man, you know what? I can use this. I can use what looked like a failure to other people, right? I can use that now. And so the other thing that I want you to see is that you have to be a turnaround specialist. What does that mean, LaQuisha? That means when you come into a setting, I don't care what it is, everything about that setting should change. When you come into a setting, everything about that setting should change. It may look like it's a dormant situation. It may look like it's a desolate situation, but the reality is that I'm here now. Like people say, oh, LaQuisha, that's arrogant. No, that's me knowing who I am. That's being in a constant state of celebration. That's being unapologetically living a life on purpose. And so I showed up. You should expect things to be different. You should expect, y'all need to carry that type of energy into every meeting. If you're in college, into your advisors, if you're in high school, when you go into, listen, when I was in high school, I ran my life like a business. I ran my life like a business. No teacher had a copy of any of my work that I didn't also have a copy of. Because I'm gonna snitch off on teachers. My mom taught for 37 years. Teachers lose stuff. Teachers say you didn't turn in stuff, right? That's what teachers do. They're humans too. But I'm gonna run my life like a Fortune 500 company. I got multiple copies of everything. I got a digital footprint. I got a printout. I done emailed it to myself. Because what I realize is that I'm different. I'm walking in this space and I'm different because I got something that I'm working through. I got something that I'm persevering through. So I can't put my life and the responsibility in the hands of other people. I got to take some of that. I got to take some of that. I got to take the lead on that, right? And then I have to be able to rise above it all. I got to rise above it all. That means that when it's good, when it's bad, when it's not so great, right? When people seem like they've left you, when you're in the middle of a class and you taking a test that you taking, they let you retake it twice, like, and you feel that weight. You got to be willing to rise above it. The only way you're going to succeed is to rise above it. Rise above that situation, right? And then let go, right? So I need you to understand something. There's a difference, y'all, between healthy striving and perfection, right? You can keep doing it. You want to do it with excellence, but don't let that be a stalemate, right? Or a stopping point for you. Because some of y'all are excellent students. You're excellent students. You're doing great in life. You're making wonderful decisions for your life. But here's the deal. You moving like a snowflake on a ground, right? You're moving like a snail. You're moving like you're moving at a glacial pace. When the reality is you should be moving like a rocket. You should be moving like a rocket so that you're getting to where you need to be. Let me tell y'all something about moving slow. We move slow when we doubt. Yeah. We move slow when we doubt. When you're doubting, do I know it all? Do I have everything I need? Once you've assessed that you got that God is giving you some things, then you just go with it. And be faithful enough to know that, you know what? I'm not perfect, but in this moment, I'm going to give this the best that I have, right? I'm going to operate in excellence because perfectionism stifles your success. It stifles your success, right? And it's shown that when you think about it, I want you to think about this. People who follow fear, right? They fail. They fail 9 times out of 10, but not because they couldn't do it, y'all. They fail because they let the fear drive the car, right? And most people have fear. Why do they have fear? Somebody tell me in the chat, why are most people scared of succeeding? Somebody tell me, why are most people scared of succeeding? I think that, most people are scared of succeeding because they think that, you know what, if I do this well, yeah, they probably don't believe, right? Probably believe that they won't succeed, right? They've already doubted themselves, right, Hezekiah, before they get started, right? Some people fear succeeding because they've never seen it. What if, Hezekiah Jones, what if you are the person that's going to set the standard for everybody else that's attached to you, be it your family, your community members, your classmates? Like, what if you are that person? Listen, somebody got to be that person, right? The things that we've never seen. Nobody saw the use of a phone, right? Until Alexander Graham Bell puts that thing in play. And now we got a little bitty phone. We done made the cell phone. The cell phone done changed so much. It was big. It was little. It was, yeah. They don't know success until you taste it. Until you taste it, you ain't necessarily have to see it because it might be you. You might be the thing, the person creating the thing that everybody sees. Listen, be okay with messing up. Be okay with letting people down. The person you don't need to let down is yourself. That's it. And so I need you to understand that. The two most misunderstood words are hope and power. Hope is not a warm, optimistic feeling or emotion. Hope is a way of thinking. See, so is a man thinketh, so is he. Whatever is in your mind, right? All those I am statements, emotion has nothing to do with it. There are days when I don't feel like getting up, Mike James. There are days when I don't feel like doing anything. But here's the deal. The hope that's in my brain for a better future, not just for my family, but for the community, for the world, is what pushes me to get up. So it's not an emotion. It's not like, oh man, I hope I'm gonna do this. Listen, hope is a thing with feathers. That's a poem. Some of y'all should have read that in school by now. Hope is a thing with feathers, right? That's what they say. Now, hope is what drives you to think what you think and say what you say, right? The thing about hope is that when you have hope, it gives you the ability to know where you want to go. See, people who are hopeless because they don't really know where they want to go, right? But hope gives you the ability to not know where you want to go, but also know how you're going to get there. Right? But also embracing the fact that I'm going to have disappointments and but I'm going to have to relentlessly push through. Hit restart. I have no problem hitting restart. I'll hit restart as many times as I need to make sure that I'm presenting the best foot forward in any opportunity that I've been given. I've had failings in my life, but because my life isn't over, nothing about my life is a failure. Hope is your ability to believe that you can do this. You got to believe it. You got to believe it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he defines power as the ability to affect change. When you believe that you can do it, then when you show up, change is inevitable, y'all. And so I want you to ponder this question for yourself. Are you the architect or the visitor of your life? Are you building it, or are you just hoping that some things happen, right? Are you just hoping that some things happen? Because some people are waking up every day and they just show up for life and hope that life give them whatever. Listen, how many of y'all, man, I wish I could talk to y'all. How many of y'all, right, go to a restaurant and say, bring me some food? Anybody? Somebody say yes or no in the chat. When you go to a restaurant, you say, right, bring me some food, right? Just bring me some food. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. My friends give me a hard time. There's a restaurant here in Tennessee that I visit frequently. I probably need stock in it. It's called Firebirds, but they have a steak that I love, right? And so it's called a Delmonico steak. And so it has a chili rub on it. And the thing about this Delmonico steak, y'all, it's the best cut that I've had in a long time. And I tell them I want extra chili rub. I want a medium plus, right? That's just a little bit of pink. And I want it to be cooked with no steak weight. Now, some of y'all maybe not understand that, but when they cook your steak, you probably have seen it. They put a metal weight on it. And when they put that metal weight on it, it makes it cook faster. I want them to cook my steak without the steak weight because I want it to still be juicy and not dry when it comes to the table. Listen, I want mashed potatoes with blue cheese sauce and a side of blue cheese crumbs. That's what I want. I know, and my friends laugh because they like, you are so specific. That's the way you should be about your life. You should show up and be an architect. When you get ready to build a house, you don't say to the contractor, just build something. No, I want this. I want chrome handles on my doors. You gotta be specific. You gotta be specific. Be the architect of your life. Don't be a visitor to it, just observing. And so, how do you do this? These are my last steps, my last couple steps for y'all, because this is how you do it. One, you have to determine what you really want. What is it that you want in life, right? Write it down. What is it that you want? Because this is the thing. Once you decided what you want, I want to succeed and graduate with honors. I want to start a business, right? Then you got to find out what it's going to cost you. And when I say cost, some of that is money. Yeah. You got to figure out, do I need 6 scholarships or 2? Right? Do I need some financial assistance? Do I need to work a summer job? But you got to find out what it costs. But some of that cost is personal. It's relational. Some of your success is going to cost you Xbox time, PS5 time. It's going to cost you hanging out with your friends, shopping, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. You got to find out what it will cost you. And then you have to make a decision if you want to pay that price. Because here's the deal. You will literally pay, literally and figuratively pay for what you don't know. People can charge you for stuff that they know that you don't, because you didn't read the book, right? Because you didn't read the book. So you will literally and figuratively pay for what you don't know, because the lessons of life will teach you if you didn't learn it. And then the people that's in the world gonna charge you if they know and you don't. The next thing you have to do is you got to get a system and stick to that system. I don't care what your system is. Figure it out and stick to a system. For me, I brain dump. When I get up in the morning, I write down everything that's on my brain. And I'm saying sometimes it's go get milk. Sometimes it's process payroll for my company. Sometimes it's send out 2 invoices, right? Send this invoice to my assistant. Like, I don't care what it is. I dump it all, right? Go pick up dry cleaning. So that this is the thing, y'all. Do y'all understand that they put the directions of how to make Jell-O on the back of the box? I know that sounds random, but I want you to think about that. The fact that they put the directions on how to make Jell-O on the back of the box, you know what that says to me? What that says to me is I don't have to use my brain space to remember how to make Jell-O. I can say that brain space for problem solving. You got to figure out, y'all, the system for yourself, right? Writing it down. Make a plan. I make a week plan every Sunday. Life does not accidentally happen to me. I know what my week looks like. Now, I'm not God, so I can't control all the things, but I'm waking up on Sunday with a plan for the whole week. And I plan the next day to the details the day before. I'm not waking up in pandemonium trying to figure out where I put that folder, I plan it the day before. The other thing is say no. Learn to say no. Everything that you can do is not what you should do. Everything that you can do is not what you should do. I want you to think about this as I talked about the Creator earlier, right? And we talk about, I am, again, unapologetically Christian. And so I say this. Jesus could have built 1 billion temples, wrote thousands of books, healed all the sick, and rose everybody from the dead in the 33 and a half years that he was walking this earth, but he didn't. He stuck to his mission. And the reason he stuck to his mission because he knew what his yes was, right? So you can't say, you're not saying no to stuff because you don't know what your yes is. I want you to ponder this question. What things are presenting themselves in your life as opportunities, but they're really distractions? That's for some of y'all are losing the fight because you're engaging everything that comes. You think that everything that oh, that's my blessing, that's my opportunity. And you're doing it because you don't really know what your opportunity is. You don't really know what you should be moving toward. I can say no to things left and right because I know what my yes is. I know what that doesn't mean that I'm mean and I can't help people that aren't on my journey. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying I can't be the doula to your birth. Right? For those of you who don't know what a doula is, that's a person that help women have babies. I tell people, I can't birth your baby. I can bring a gift to the baby shower, but I can't be here to help you birth that thing because it's not aligned to my mission, right? It's not aligned to my purpose. And then I want you to learn to say no and take many breaks for fun and relaxation. Even as a young person, you deserve. People try to tell young people, you need to work, you need to grind, you a kid, you don't know, you deserve a break too. Everybody deserves a break. And in doing that, I want you to learn to journal and keep a log, right? But this is what I want you to keep a log of. I don't journal what happened. I journal what I learned. Because here's the thing. I only want to remember the lessons. I don't have to relive the trauma. That's staying in the fight when you realize that everything has a lesson in it and I can extract that lesson. And that's what I want to remember. What did I learn from this moment? I'm telling y'all, if you can employ any of these strategies, you can get to a place. You can get to a place where you realize what it takes to stay in the fight, right? Unlearn those bad behaviors, thought patterns, habits, make good decisions, take the risk, weather the storm, right? Do the work. I'm gonna leave y'all with this last story. We're gonna take questions for about 10 minutes. I call this stay in the fight because I like boxing. Like I got props here for y'all. I got like this one of my gloves. It say prayer. The other gloves say faith, right? Because I'm gonna hit you with the double whammy, right? The prayer and the faith. Like, but here's the thing. I love boxing. The story, I don't know how many of y'all have heard of Layla Ali and her story, but this is the thing about Layla Ali that I love. Layla Ali never set out to be a boxer. That was not, even though her dad was a legendary champion, she didn't want to be a boxer, right? Matter of fact, the thing about Layla Ali is she actually, because her dad was so famous, she really didn't have all of the support that she needed. So Layla Ali, when she was 15, she would go to school, but then she would take public transportation to cosmetology school after she got out of school. By the time she was 18, Layla Ali owned a beauty salon and a nail salon. She was an entrepreneur, had her own business. Didn't see her first real boxing match until she was 17. Now, I want y'all to think about this. Remember I said you're wired for success and you can get programmed for failure? Her own father programmed something that ultimately blocked her legacy of their boxing lineage. Her dad had to come back and apologize because all of her life, her dad had told her that women didn't box. So she embraced that. She wasn't even looking to become a boxer. And so she had a rough, tumultuous childhood. She was in detention centers, all this stuff. She said she was always scrappy. She was always a fighter. But here's the deal. She understood that fighting with her hands was one thing, but pushing past all of the baggage she had to get through was another thing. Layla Ali was an example to us of staying in the fight, right? Even when it looked like you had everything handed to you, she stopped and she realized what she wanted. And so at one point she wanted to be an entrepreneur. And another moment she decided boxing was what she wanted to do. Now she's a wellness coach, right? You can do all, God may have given you all of these giftings, y'all, but you got to be willing to weather the storm and do the work. Listen, life is a gift. Don't ask for a receipt. Don't ask for a receipt. Don't try to take it back. Be grateful for what it is, all the good, the strength and the struggle, and embrace it. Listen, we're gonna open up for about, we got about 9 minutes, 8 minutes or so for Q&A. And listen, I'm here for y'all, so y'all can ask any questions. Devin, I don't know if they can unmute and ask, or if y'all want to do this through the chat. Peace and love, Mike. Appreciate you. Anybody have any questions? Entrepreneurship, vision? All right. You heard the coach. All right. Good stuff. Appreciate you. Hey, y'all might get some time back. Cornelius, you got any questions, comments? All right. Listen, my last words to you, y'all. Stay in the fight. Find you a sparring partner. Find somebody that you can that you can think these things through, right? That you can kind of battle it out to figure out the decisions and the direction of your life. You know, the blessings that are for you, they're just waiting for you. Some people say, man, I haven't gotten a blessing yet. I haven't gotten, the success or the achievement yet that I want. And this is what I tell them. If I told you today that everything that you want in life is going to be on ABC lane in 5 years, and you decided to take 1, 2, 3 lane for the first 3 years, it's not that the blessings aren't there. It's that you're not in position. You're not on the right road, right? If you are on, the thing about being on your path is that everything that you need, everything that you desire is on that path waiting for you. So stay in the fight. It's my time.